first just give it up for my fellow writers? Oh my goodness. And Scott gets way too much applause most of the time, but honestly, he deserves it. This book was such a community event, put together by a true communitarian. Yeah. This piece is called On the Lamb. Sunlight shattered the wide-eyed midsummer day beyond the laboratory window. I badly needed a dose of honest-to-God sunshine to offset that tinny fluorescence that illuminates the genetics lab where I squint away my daylight hours. I felt like a bookstore clerk squeezed into a dark aisle, suffocated by shelves bulging with literary profusion. Maybe I was short on sleep or hungry or tired of running from myself. Underlying causes be damned. I was desperate for liberation. Slamming through a side door of the biology complex, clearly marked emergency exit, I crossed the street to the student union and ordered a full-size submarine sandwich with spinach and tomatoes and olives and pickles and goopy pink chipotle sauce. Emerging into the broad arms of early afternoon, I headed for a bench in a courtyard outside my building, looking for a little space, a little peace, a little quiet. Instead, all hell broke loose. There was nothing peculiar about this version of hell. The street was getting a facelift, and the surgical tool of the moment was a jackhammer. The clatter of asphalt being reduced into black cracker jacks pierced my thin shield of fortitude, punched into my core, and began chiseling away at my personal bedrock. Clutching my unwrapped sandwich, I fled. Surely small pieces of dismantled soul were being strewn behind. The campus crows would sweep in and gobble up the bits of me, and I would become a soulless noontime Hansel with no hope of return. I power walked past tall brick buildings and several empty benches, too close to the jackhammers to serve as refuge. The construction noise was fading when I emerged beside the broad and busy thoroughfare of Franklin Boulevard. A sunny hideaway beckoned beyond 6 lanes of cars and trucks, hell-bent on converting my grandchildren's petroleum inheritance into an exhaust-spewing roar. I teetered at the edge of this noisy maw. A small gap opened in the eardrum rupture of traffic. I darted through like a deer mouse caught in the dazzling vastness of daylight, on the verge of being devoured by the masticating stream of vehicles. Immediately beyond the street, the short footbridge spanned a canal flowing in placid neglect, walled in by impenetrable blackberry brambles. A few finger-length fish twitched past a drowned bicycle, resting quietly on the muddy bottom. maybe wondering how in the hell they had come to live in such dishonorable circumstances. Just past the footbridge was a brick plaza the size of a living room. I propped myself against the concrete backrest of a bench and began to unwrap the submarine sandwich. But the bedlam from Franklin Boulevard wrapped around me like an octopus enveloping a crab, chewing away at my center. I rewrapped the sandwich and fled further along the bike path, ever more desperate for that place with a little space, a little peace, a little quiet. The path arrowed past a shady research park, rife with straight edges, unreasonably tidy brick buildings, picnic tables on rectangular concrete pads, and manicured lawns ripe with the smell of irrigated grass. A tranquil scene of right angles, vertical, horizontal, perpendicular, all well ordered and intensely respectable. I didn't bother to stop. My route ducked through an underpass beneath the railroad tracks. A 2-track dirt road diverged from the asphalt to my right and was blocked by an iron gate sporting a "No Trespassing" sign. I slowed down only long enough to duck beneath it. The place was roughshod with weeds, wild grasses, and blackberries who grew in tangled shelters for other than human beings. Traffic noise dimmed. In a sunny spot, I found a cast-off piece of railroad tie smelling of black creosote, planted my ass there, and began to peel the crinkly wrapper from the rapidly warming sandwich. I began to relax. A train roared in. A full-on bucking freight train with 7 engines that pulled and pushed a jillion flatbed cars stacked with blonde 2x4 remains of a forest now destined for a 2x4 store near you. Each clanging, clattering stack of lumber seemed to be striving for liberation from an ignominious straight-line existence of enforced following. I recognized their predicament. The head-banging calamity of their struggle was unbearable. I kept traveling, trying to protect the meager remains of my noise-shattered soul and that God-forsaken submarine sandwich. The riverbank was my last chance. In desperation, I ducked into a narrow trail forged through an otherwise impenetrable mountain of blackberry vines. The path dropped over a precipice of large rocks piled by people striving to shackle the innate tendencies of free-flowing water. The Willamette was once a magnificent network of ever-changing channels where the Calapooya were fully integrated into seasonal flood and flow. But new people rolled in who dammed, ditched, and diked. And now the currents chase themselves in yet another ignominious straight-line existence. I picked my way to the foot of the rocky revetment. Between lapping water, drooping alder stretched a narrow band of respite. And for a stool, I found a basketball-sized piece of gray basalt. For millennia, the storm had registered the music of water, whispering current, goose talk, trilling frogs, the soft click of small pebbles made by salmon swishing nests in spawning gravel. And like me, that rock was on the lam, but for eons rather than an hour. And here I cowered like a panting fox running from the baying hounds of the built world. I unwrapped my beat-up submarine sandwich, unwrapped the gauze protecting my innermost insides, exposed brittle anxiety to the softening wash of river song rising from the gentle current. And from somewhere beneath me, there rose a little space, a little peace, a little quiet, and the murmuring memory of stone. Don Latarski, you howl like a champion.